Hello, hello. We are live. It is Friday, April 10th, 2020. Yes, indeed. Um, Sorry for being late. I know I said it was going to be at 1:15, but got a little bit distracted. Had a busy morning and had to go run to kind of get some things sorted out. And but we're here. We're ready to answer some questions. I do have some that came in this week. What's up, Todd? Thanks for being here. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. So feel free to drop in some questions if anything comes up while we're chatting today. Maybe last week we had a surprise guest jump on the stream, so we'll see what happens today. You never know. And so I'm just really, really glad to be back and doing this. Hope everyone's staying healthy, staying productive, or taking it easy, whatever you need to be doing right now. I know everybody has, different levels of, self-care that they need to take during this time. But again, just feel free to drop in any live questions here on Instagram, here on Facebook. Otherwise, I'm going to pull up some of the questions that came in from yesterday. I usually ask ahead of time on Instagram for some questions, so feel free to look out for those each and every week. Something I'm pretty impressed by, and I just realized that I forgot to send them to myself, but that's all right. We'll be fine. I can find them here on my phone. But something that I'm always impressed by is the amount of times that people will troll your page when you ask for questions. There's an unprecedented amount of Instagram trolls sending their stuff. Hi, follow me, all of this kind of stuff. But I'll start with a question from one of our UNT students. I know he sent this in. He asked, what are some essential ballads? Hey, Steve, thanks for watching from Germany. Appreciate that. He said, what are some essential ballads? And here's the questions. Amazing. So he said, what are some essential ballads that you can play? And so for me, there's a lot of ballads. Or I guess this is actually not from Christopher. This is what are ballads you think everybody should know. I think ballads you should know are definitely Body and Soul. You got to know that. The first ballad I ever learned was In a Sentimental Mood. There's so many good ballads. I can't say what you should or shouldn't know, but those ones you definitely should know. Lover Man is a popular one to know. I'm going to forget a ton because I'm not playing. I don't have my trombone in my hand and thinking about tunes right at this very moment. I love playing Billy Strayhorn ballads. I like Flowers, I Love Something. You can see that on a couple of recordings that I've made. I recorded this with Chris Ziemba, The Man I Love, My One and Only Love. There's so many good ballads. I don't necessarily know that I can recommend anything other than those. Billy Strayhorn, Lush Life is a beautiful ballad. I'm just listing tunes right now, but I think definitely you can't be a jazz musician and not know Body and Soul. That's one. And that's pretty much a go-to for anyone and everyone, I think. But I'll think of more ballads as we go along. But that was a good one. Let's see here. I saw there was a question from Chris Bauer, I thought. Yeah. Oh, he said, looks good. I see. I thought he asked this very thoughtful question. Here we go. There's another question from Lisa MBTS. She says, what do you think about when you improvise? That's a good question. I think that's an important question that evolves over time as an improviser. And hey, Stephen Feifke, how you doing, man? He says, what do you think about when you improvise? Stephen didn't say that, but I think about this question that I pose to my students often when I'm teaching. I say, what does the music need right now? And did I always think like that? No, of course not. That's not the question I could even ask myself until more recently, until maybe grad school or after grad school. That question definitely is one that takes a prerequisite knowledge of the tune, a prerequisite knowledge of jazz language and jazz vocabulary, and knowledge of key centers and voicings and all of the stuff that we teach as the nuts and bolts of jazz has to be that prerequisite to being able to, think about or realistically answer a question like that. What does the music need right now? And so that could take the form of a lot of things. It could be, what dynamic do I need to be playing? Like how in or out should I be playing right now? What energy should I be playing with right now? What timbre should I be playing with? Which set of like jazz language should I be using? Is it like a more blues inspired kind of approach? Is it like a post train kind of free, kind of intense vibe? Am I listening to the bass? Am I listening to the drums? I either am keying in on the bass because the bass is giving us time and harmony, and or I'm thinking into the ride cymbal of the drummer because I want to lock right in with their concept of the swing, because every drummer has a little bit different concept of swing. If you listen really carefully, there's a difference in the skip beat for sure. There's a difference in the drive of the quarter notes, and by the skip beat I mean dang, ga-dang, ga-dang, ga-dang. Wherever I place it is different than the drummers that I'm playing with will place it. So it's just kind of all over the place. Very, very subtly. I mean, these are subtle, like conceptual ideas that we're dealing with here. But I think that listening for those two things are what I'm listening to. And then on top of those two things, that question that I said, what does the music need right now? Because oftentimes we come in with an agenda of like, I'm going to play this lick, or I'm going to play this phrase, or I'm going to show people what I've been practicing, or I've been doing this or that or the other thing. And it just doesn't always translate to what's actually happening in real time. So I think it's important to actually try to listen to the music and react and play in the moment. That's what I think is most important. Listening, playing with the band, playing with the music that's happening at that moment. So that's what I think about when I'm improvising. What's the drummer doing? What's the bass player doing? How can I fit in? And getting all of that other knowledge, the tune, the harmony, what notes I should be playing, all that stuff should be second nature, theoretically. And even then, even if I'm sight reading a tune, I'm still trying to get to that level of improvisational thought and whatever, right from the bat, right from the get-go. I don't want to have to go back later and regret. I'm always thinking about the music, and especially lately, especially more recently, maybe post grad school, that's like the essential thing that I'm thinking about. What does the music need right now? See a bunch of people here. Thanks for joining. What's up, Clovis? Hope you're doing well, man. Hope New York treating you nicely. We've got some more questions here. I think a new one just came in. Let's see. From story. I don't know. There's nothing there. Okay, let's close that. All right, so some more questions. There was one from Stephen. Stephen did a question. This is really nice. He says, what do you listen to most in a live performance? Yourself, the pianist, the bassist? Obviously you, the pianist, Stephen. I'm always listening. No, I think I kind of addressed that just a second ago. What I'm listening for is a combination of how I can fit into the rhythm section and how I can react, and feeling how I can fit into the music, and listening closely, like what did the last soloist do? How can I offer something similar or different? How can I be playing in the language of the pianist that's playing? You can't always force your agenda. I mean, you can try, but it's only going to be so successful for so long. At least in my experience, you kind of need to go with what's happening overall, not like specifically like, oh, he played this voicing, I have to play this vocabulary, but it has to be, overall a sense of unity, a sense of coming together, a sense of everyone playing together. And if you're not playing together, what's the point? And I think like why play with other musicians if you're just going to practice, or why play with other musicians if you're just going to not listen to them? I don't know. And so playing music with other people is the chance to listen and react and, get out of sight of your own head. That's what I think. And then you can shed all the other stuff with I Real Be when you don't have any other people to get listen to and get annoyed with you. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just how I think about it. And I see Zane agrees. Thanks, Zane. Thanks for being here, Zane. Some more questions. Let's see. This was an interesting one. It's a little bit trombone nerdy, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. He said, this is from Kai BC. He says, does mouth placement on the mouthpiece matter in terms of tone and range? It can, and where you place the mouth on the mouthpiece is going to determine the airstream, and it's going to determine which direction the stream goes, up or down, and it's going to determine the speed of the air, and it's going to determine like how flexible you can be. There's plenty of great examples on both sides of the spectrum of people that place it really high and place it really low. I aim for 2/3 and 1/3 high to low. Ultimately, I think it's really important to learn the fundamentals of how these things work, like embouchure and brass playing and all this kind of stuff. I'm not a super duper expert. I would never say I'm an expert of embouchure. But what I do know is that I think everyone needs to kind of customize that knowledge to meet their own needs. And I don't think there's a one size fits all situation, because there's so many great success stories of people from all different sides of the spectrum in terms of like how their face works and how their chops work. So I try to work with students in terms of making it be comfortable, in terms of making it be efficient and effective, and it not hurting them. As long as it's not hurting them, as long as it's not preventing them from doing things that they want to be doing, I think it's okay. That's probably an unpopular belief, but that's what I believe. I think if you contort yourself into an unnatural position, you're going to cause more problems. Hey, Dwayne, thanks for being here. Thanks for saying hi. But that's what I think about in terms of mouthpiece placement. And I know that's kind of probably not super popular in terms of the answer there. But let's see, how do I do this? Screwing things up here. So please drop in some questions. There's one over here from Peter. I'll get to it in a second. And feel free on Instagram if you guys have questions, drop them in. They'll pop up in my little question stream here. I appreciate everybody being here. It's Friday, April 10th. I'm really excited in terms of some projects I've been working on. I'll give you a little preview. I arranged this tune. I think you'll be able to read it. I'm just going to flash it on the screen. I did a little 8 trombone arrangement of this tune, one of my favorites from a long time ago. How's it going for Argentina? Fluck Online. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for being here. I'm working on a trombone arrangement of that tune, that Kenny Garrett tune that I just flashed up on the screen, which should be fun. I'm going to try to get that recorded this week. I hope you guys are working on something that brings you guys a little bit of joy and excitement. But I'm going to get to this question here from Peter. He goes by Jazzbound PT on Instagram if you want to follow him. No, I do not speak Portuguese. Sorry. Wish I could. Maybe use Google Translate. Okay, so Peter says, could you briefly discuss the process of recording an album, including rough estimates of time for each stage as well as cost? Yes, I can do that. This might be a little bit of a long answer. Let's see. Dwayne, I'm going to do Dwayne's question because this is a long one, and I'll come back to it. Dwayne says, would you have a Bach Pro or a King 2B Wrath? Are you looking to buy a horn? Because no, I don't have any of those. I play a King 3B Plus, which is like a medium bore, 525 bore instrument. So no, I don't have any of those. I'm not a horn collector. I don't have horns to buy and sell. I'm sorry. Okay, so this question, I'll try to answer it as succinctly as I can and I'll give some ranges for these kind of things. He said, okay, so process of recording an album. Well, the first thing to do is to get some music together and get a concept together and get a band together, which is easier said than done. Sometimes, you have to have a good idea of some music that you can record, maybe an idea, because the most important thing once you get it all out into the world is coming up with a story. What's the angle? What's the story that we can tell with the music? What's the story that we can share with the writers, the jazz radio, all those people, the people that listen, that are fans, like what is the story of the album? Why are you recording standards? Why are you doing originals? So thinking about that why, or thinking of a way to craft a story that goes along with the tunes on the record is really important. So if you can, if you can think about it from the beginning, it's going to be best. And it could be months or weeks or days of thinking about that. It could be something that you do after the fact. You don't necessarily have to have it all planned out beforehand, at least in my experience. But having a strong concept is really an important part of having a really strong recording at the end, or a strong album presentation, rather. So that could be that. I like to record all of the music in one day. I don't think it's productive to waste a lot of time in the studio. I think that first takes are often the best takes. I am also a person that's okay with mistakes, and I like the rawness of that. I like things to feel like how they are when someone's playing them. Meaning, if it's hard, I'm okay with it feeling hard. Obviously, we want it to feel easy and flow and all that, and those are ideals. But like, I want it to feel like it's supposed to feel like. So if there's a couple of things, and there's a lot of ways to fix things in the mixing process. So in the tracking day, I like to have a producer there. I had Ryan Truesdell on a couple weeks ago, and we talked a lot about production. You can find that on YouTube if you want to go and find that video. We talked about production, what does a jazz producer do, and all this kind of stuff. So there's that side of it, and then also the side of it that is... So anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted because I'm going down these different rabbit holes because this question is a little bit multifaceted. So let's see. So the studio costs like probably, I don't know, what it costs where you are in New York. It's like $1,200 to $1,500 for the day in the studio, which is like 10 hours. And then you're going to pay your musicians anywhere from, I don't know, $500 to $1,000 a day. Or maybe you have friends that are doing you a favor, so they do it for less. I think the official... I forget the exact number, but the union rate is somewhere around $600 for the day with like 2-3 hour sessions and breaks in terms of like the AFM union contract. Somebody else might be able to correct me on that, but it's somewhere around there. Maybe it's $700 for those two sessions. I forget exactly, but that's for like a big label recording. So it can kind of range. I think everybody has to do their own research in terms of talking to their friends, talking to the people that are going to be on the album, coming to a agreement about what that's going to look like. Other things to think about that you got to pay for, it might be the producer, it might be the piano tuning. Sometimes that often gets forgotten about, and that's like maybe $100 or $200, somewhere in there. And any instrument rentals for the day, maybe lunch, all that stuff. Just incidentals. It's nice for people to have snacks during the recording session. All these little things that they kind of add up, but important to think about. You want people to be comfortable and have a good time at your session to make the best music that you can. So all of those things. So I'm not keeping a running tally here yet, but you can kind of keep track of that on your own. And then I'm a little bit unlike other people in that I like to try to move quickly. So I do all my mixing generally in one day. I do mastering generally either on another day, and then maybe some fix-ups. So maybe 3 total days mixing, mastering, if that, maybe 2, like 1 full day and 2 half days. You can spend weeks and weeks and weeks. Certain people, I won't like name any names, but spend like weeks and weeks mixing and remixing and all this kind of thing. But my motto is just, you got to keep moving, and that you're going to make it sound as best as you can. I mean, for me, I'm making an acoustic jazz record too, so I want it to sound like it's what it sounds like during a concert. So as long as all the instruments are playing the right notes and sound like the instruments, to me, that's a successful recording session. So all that said and done, might be, I don't know, maybe $100 an hour. So you're looking at 20 hours, maybe 15 to 20 hours of mixing and mastering. Tony Musico's here, and he wants to talk about Steve Turre. I love Steve Turre. Right on. Where were we? So we did that. And then you got to get album artwork. You got to get a publicist. If you're going to get it, you're going to get a radio promoter. So album art might cost you somewhere between $500 and $1,000. Printing 1,000 discs is around $1,200. I know all this. If you don't know, because I also own and run a record label, that's why I can just kind of spit off these random figures with some kind of authority. A publicist, generally, a ballpark is going to be $1,000 a month plus expenses. That's like mailing expenses, writing expenses, various things. So you're looking at somewhere around $5,000 for a campaign for radio, and maybe around $5,000 for a campaign for print. So you get both of those together. If you really want to go big, that's $10,000 plus however much you paid your musicians, plus the studio, plus the mixing and mastering, plus the artwork, plus the printing. So it can add up. One of my first teachers, Clay Jenkins at Eastman, said something like it took $10,000 to make a record, and I was like, what? That's no way. You can do it for less, and you can do it for less. But if you want to take advantage of all of the possible opportunities within that, that's definitely something you'll have to look into. So that's that. Hopefully, Peter, that answered your question. Feel free to follow up if I didn't answer something that you actually wanted me to answer and I kind of maybe glossed over it a little bit. But I see I see another question here from DoodooBone23. He says, "Good afternoon. How has the music class dealt with the pandemic in your country? Has the government given any assistance?" Well, they're trying to. Musicians are doing a lot of online concerts. They're doing a lot of online teaching. People are definitely connecting more with the online teaching thing and trying to make that happen. In terms of like government intervention, there's a lot of private foundations that are doing fundraisers and giving like micro grants. As far as I see them, they're giving like $500 grants, $1,000 grants for people that are really in trouble. Kind of for the average musician, I think it's maybe a little bit difficult to get those things. I feel like it's going more towards people that are really in extraordinary circumstances, which is good. It should, and they should definitely be getting assistance. And I'm not trying to say that they shouldn't be. I'm just saying that I've been extremely fortunate that I teach at a university and our classes have continued. They've moved online, but they're continuing, and so all is good as from that angle of things. But I think there's a lot of resources. I posted a huge list of resources for US-based musicians on the Outside In Music page, which is the label that I run. It says like COVID-19 resources or something, and that was a link to I think maybe the AFM, which is the Musicians Union. They sent out like a big list of items, so maybe check that one, and that should give you some more specific advice. But I hope everything's going well wherever you are. Do whether you're in Brazil or in Portugal. Hope everything's cool with you and what you're doing. So I see some more questions coming in on Facebook. I'm just going to switch over here real quick. Let's see. From Peter, he's following up. Just wanted a general idea of what to expect. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, let me know if you have any other specific questions, but I'm glad that kind of gave you an overview of everything. I don't think I really missed anything other than if you're going to pay for distribution. If you don't find a label to help you, you might have to pay for distribution, meaning CD Baby or DistroKid or one of those things. So yeah, give me 1 second. I just got to pause this camera here. Okay. Okay, the next question is coming in from Joe Jackson. Hey, Joe, how are you, man? He says, so during this crisis, people collaborating on projects one at a time has become popular. If we're talking about big band, what do you think a good order of laydown is by section? And then within the trombone section, within the section, bass bone first, lead, then bass, then section. I mean, I could see it from, multiple angles. I mean, you could do it from the bottom up. I think the most important thing is to have either like a click track or a drum track that everybody is playing to, because the most important thing is that all the rhythms are going to be tight and it's going to be not quantized but accurate. So in terms of the pitch, I mean, you can get away with tuning things if you have to, since everybody's in their own little world, their own little video world. So you can extract the audio and then you can fix whatever needs to get fixed. So I think that you can get away with any order, really. What I would do is I would send it out to all the people at the same time and mix it in the order that they sent it back to me, because I'm more of a realist in how things go. And so, if the bass trombone sends me something last and he's super sharp, I'm just going to tune him with the auto tune. Honestly, that's what I would do. Because I want to get it out, I'm not going to fuss around, because it's never going to be as good with these remote collaborations as if everyone's in the studio and everyone has the best microphones, playing in person, can tune in person, phrase in person, all that stuff. But if you want some kind of stylistic guide for them to play along with, I would send at least like a scratch track, and they can play along with you. Like you could say like, oh, I'm going to record bass. I'm going to go from the bottom up, but I'm going to send the lead trombone part so they can at least follow, and then have the lead trombone play it again with everybody else. There's a lot of ways you could do it. A friend of mine, Chad Lefkowitz Brown, did a whole big band that way, and I don't know if they did what order they did it in. Maybe one of my friends could chime in and let us know in a comment. They can probably tell us that we're in the video. Or Chad. Maybe Chad will let us know. But so you could do it in any way, Joe. I think thinking that it needs to be in a specific way. I don't think it matters. I think if you have one person leading the way with the kind of phrasing, which is probably you, even if you're not playing lead or bass, you probably want to, if you were running it, you want to not enforce, but show people what the phrasing should be or you want it to be on that. So that's what I would do. Hope that makes sense. But you could do it a lot of ways. I don't think it has to be any particular way. All right, so feel free to drop in any last minute questions here on the stream. Appreciate you all being here live. Hope everyone's doing well. If you're on Instagram right now, I'm about to swipe away for just a second because there's a few more questions that are sitting on a screenshot, and I'm gonna go look at that really quick so that I can see it. Oh wait, I can just do this. I think it's this one. Yes, let's see. There it is. So you can even see it. What are ballads you think everyone should know? Check out my new post. See, I told you. Shall we follow each other? Maybe that was all of them. And just mouthpiece placement. Yeah, that we did that. Kai Beasy said, what is one thing you wish you knew before becoming a freelance trombonist? See, I knew there was one more question that I hadn't got to that came in beforehand. So, wait, what was that question again? One thing you wish you knew before becoming a freelance trombonist. Yes. So one thing that I wish I knew before becoming a freelance trombonist, Alex, I see your question, and we'll circle back around to it. Is I wish that I knew I didn't have to say yes to everything, and that I could curate a little more the things that I said yes to, and I didn't need to fill up every minute of every day with playing a million different gigs of all sorts. Don't get me wrong, I think it's really important for a period of your life to say yes to everything, and I think you should try to do as many different things. Musically speaking, like as a freelancer, you have to be musically diverse and be able to do everything, anything. But to be a little bit more have a little idea that I needed some self-time, some self-care from the beginning, and not just pushing myself to do everything that I wanted to do along with everything that everybody else wanted me to do the whole time. I mean, there was many times of doing a bunch of gigs that I probably could have said no to, but I didn't. And I guess just knowing that you have to at some point diverge from being just quote unquote a freelance trombonist if you want to make a career as like an artist, something like that, I think you have to make that decision. You have to kind of move in a direction. It doesn't have to be a specific direction. Like I'm not saying cut out all the classical gigs or cut out all the jazz gigs or all the whatever party band gigs. I'm just saying that there's a time in your life for everything, and you just have to kind of decide at some point to make moves, And so I wish I had known that it was okay to say no earlier on, I guess is the short answer to that question. Matthew Golombisky left a nice, he just said, how good looking I am. Why, thank you. I think he's silly though. Matthew's a great bass player down in Argentina, from Chicago. He did all the play-alongs actually from the Get Ready thing that I did yesterday, the stream. So if you want to check out Matthew, he makes a lot of really cool, interesting music. Tomorrow Music Orchestra is his project, and they make a lot of cool stuff. We got a record coming out, I don't know, a couple months that we did last summer, so we'll check in on that soon. But let's see. Okay, so there's a question from Alex, and I want to get to this question. He says, how old were you when you released your first record? I believe it was Exposition. Yes, that's correct. And how did you get yourself to feel comfortable with releasing your music into the world for the first time on CD? Okay, so Exposition came out in January of 2013, and yes, that was my first record. So 2013, I was born in 88. So how old was I? Can't do math. 88, 98, 2008, plus 5 years. So I was 25, I guess. And how did I get to the point? Well, I tell people this story sometimes in master classes, that I was coming up to the end of my time at Juilliard in grad school. I finished grad school in 2012, and we actually recorded that record in between the last day of class and graduation. There's like a week in between there, and so during that time we recorded the album. And I kind of freaked out in the 6 months before, kind of like, what am I going to do? I'm in New York. I'm starting to play gigs, but school's about to end. I don't know what I'm going to do to pay my rent. And what should I do? I should make a record. Well, why? Because I had a band, and I knew it was going to be really difficult to keep a band together after school was done. Most of the band, we were together in a combo class, and so we were playing together a lot. And I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. So I decided to record it and try to go through that process, because I don't know, I've always known that it was going to take a longer time. It wasn't just going to be like one record. I've been saying this in some of the master's classes I did for this Cast of Characters tour, leading up to the rest of it getting canceled. I was telling people the stories like, yeah, I said I was going to do 5 records in 5 years, and I ended up doing 5 records in 7 years. So I almost hit my goal, but I knew that it was like, when I go into it, I was going to think about it from a long-term perspective and trying to build something, rather than just like, I'm going to put out this record and then everybody's going to know who I am and I'm going to do a bunch of stuff. I put out that first record, Exposition, and almost nothing happened. It was just a document. It was there. It was the first, and then we moved on. I wrote more music for the band. We weren't playing all that much, a couple times a year, but I was diligently trying to write music and get it out there. The first publicist I hired wasn't super successful. We didn't get too much going. He kind of laid the groundwork for future, until I found a really great publicist that I still love to use. Her name's Anne Braithwaite. She's fantastic. I'd love to get her on sometime to answer some questions about publicity, maybe for the Outside In channel. But so I guess the second part of the question is like, how did you feel comfortable? And I don't think I did feel comfortable, and I don't know that I still feel comfortable putting my stuff out, but I know that it's what I want to do and I have to do it. And the the statement that I say is, just like, it's not for everyone. What I make is not for everyone. It's not swing, dance, jazz. It's not jazz and swing music. It's original music. It's for people that like things coming out of that tradition in jazz. It's swinging elements, it has non-swinging elements, it has, it's not just one thing, unfortunately, so it's a little hard to pin down, which is hard for people usually. But then I also like to play free, weird music sometimes, and so there's some of those things, and I want the music to go in the direction it goes, and I want the music to feature the musicians, and I want the music to allow the musicians to play what they want to play, not what I want them to play. So all of those things. So how do I feel comfortable? Number one, I'm not going to feel comfortable. And you just have to decide not to care what everyone else thinks, because if you care what they think, you're never going to put your own stuff out there into the world. You'll just keep on going in a circle. I can't do it. I don't have anything to say. Well, you always have something to say. How deep of a thing you have to say changes over time. And I don't know that I have anything particularly profound to say, but I have music that goes through my brain and that I want to share. So I have to share it, because if I don't share it, then I'm not going to build anything. I'm not going to build to a place where I have even more stuff to share. So I think it's a process. I think you have to put stuff out constantly. And now it's easier than ever. You can make videos, you can stream your concerts, you can record your concerts, and then you can document the growth. If you go listen to I doubt anyone has as much time or desire, but to listen to all 5 of my records back to back, I think you'll feel and hear a development there. I don't know what words to use to describe it, but it's definitely different. It sounds different. The compositions sound different. They somewhat sound the same. Sometimes I find myself thinking, oh, this sounds a lot like this other tune. But ultimately, I think you just have to not care what people think. And my mom will like this. She sent me something the other day from middle school. She found like an old box of stuff, and she sent, I don't remember exactly the context of why this all happened, but she found a sheet of paper where I had written down like goals about myself, and that was one of my goals when I was it had to be 7th or 8th grade. I don't know exactly where, but just to stop caring about what everyone else thought about me and just do my own thing. And I thought that was pretty funny to find that. And my mom probably also thinks it's funny and will enjoy if she watches this video. She'll enjoy that I mentioned that. So that's sorry, that's kind of a long answer to Alex's question, but it's the truth. What can I say? Just you can't care, because if you care, you'll never put anything out. You'll never do it. Oh, here's a follow-up here. In addition, what's your opinion on how to approach releasing your first record at a younger age? For example, you're 31, I've released 5. Hope those numbers are correct. Yes, you were correct. Also, I'm 31. Yes. What are you, stalking me, man? Hey, Danny, how are you? Have I played with an African band? Not really. I've never had the chance to really play with like a real African band. Like, I've always really enjoyed West African music. So I'd like to sometime if you play. Send me something, maybe I can play over it or something. Make a video. That would be fun. So the second part of Alex's question was how to approach releasing your first record is spend as much money as you can, make it as good as you can, but don't spend all of your money. I know that's kind of contradictory, but I mean, like I always tell people, live to fight another day. You have to not spend everything. So if that means you can do only like a small release, or maybe you want to release a single or an EP first to just get like your presence happening on Spotify and Apple Music, and take every dime that comes in from that, maybe a couple $100 that over 6 months, you know, and if you really push it out there, and then take that and put it towards the next thing. Obviously, it's probably going to cost that, but that's what I've always done. Is I've taken every penny that's come in from a project, and I always put it towards the next project. I've never taken any money out from these projects. It's always an investment to me. And so get that mindset together that if you want to make records, that's what you have to do. There's not a lot of people giving you advances to make records anymore, unfortunately. I wish it was different. Someday I hope my company, Outside In, can do that, give people some advances to make records, but as of right now, not so much. And right now, meaning April 2020. So do as much publicity as you can, try to lay the groundwork, try to connect with people. You know, that's why I have tried to create a platform community with Outside In Music and our other imprints. We have 2 other imprints that we're working with underneath our kind of umbrella. One is Next Level, which is specializing in debut releases, like first releases, trying to make it affordable to do that first round of publicity. So we do that, and that's something that it's important to me, and that's part of the ethos of Outside In Music, and just being artist focused and making sure that stuff gets proliferated forward. And then Outside In Arts is another one where we're trying to share projects, maybe some that come from other people that maybe don't fit into the Next Level category, but aren't ready to spend the big bucks, as it were, on a publicist and a radio campaign and all of that stuff. So that's what I'm doing to try to further that cause and try to help people in that way. But right now, if you didn't see, I put a video up on YouTube a couple days ago that we're doing a kind of like a white label service for artists that are making stuff. So if you're making stuff during this time and you want to try to get it onto Spotify, onto Apple Music, and not just up on YouTube and your personal social medias, we're trying to help people get that stuff out, get it distributed onto Spotify and Apple Music and all those places. So you can watch, there's a YouTube video that I put up a couple days ago about that. So go ahead and find that. It just says helping artists during COVID-19. And that's what we're doing. I'm getting attacked by some kind of bug. I think they're headed towards this light right here. But anyway, thanks so much for all of you for being here. I'm really glad you could be here. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop them in the next couple of minute or two while we wrap up here. So definitely check out that video of the COVID-19 stuff that we're doing with Outside In Music. I'm working on a bunch of stuff. I put out another book recently called Get Set. It's a etude book. If you're looking for some stuff to work on, you can just grab that on my website. There's lots of free stuff on the website too, exercises and things if you're looking for stuff to work on and you're a trombonist. We got the white label thing happening with Outside In. I did this cool stream of my warm-up the other day. I'm trying to see what other stuff we can do to stream. I'm going to do like a streaming trading practice session next Thursday around noon Eastern. I'm going to try to do that and see if we can get some of these technologies to work better for teaching in kind of real time and you guys be able to play along. So I think I got it figured out. So if you want to tune into that, that'll be next Thursday. You can check, I'll post more about these things, but glad you found it helpful. Chinggis, appreciate that. Let's see, what else? That's it, I think. I think that's it for today. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you. And we'll be back next Friday around 1:15 Central, 2:15 Eastern or so. I try to make it weekly, try to actually come on the same time so people can plan for it. But that's what we'll do. So next week, feel free to send questions in throughout the week, and I'll happy to organize them to answer them live on the stream. So thanks for joining. And yes, Peter, I agree. Medium bore for life. All right. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.